Virginia. I spent some, because it was I went from full-time work to part-time work in the synagogue, so I had to find other part-time work. One of the jobs I used to do, among many, was that I worked in an inner-city school on the south side of Richmond, teaching after-school tutoring, math tutoring, even though I'm not quite the math guy. And I would come with my hat and my bekisha, and the kids would say Abraham Lincoln. So that's why I'm wearing the hat, even though this is not a Torah teaching, political teaching, but it's also a history lesson. And I think a lot of folks don't know that Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president. That after the Civil War, there were several African American former slaves who were freed who were in the Senate, and they were all Republicans. And the Republican Party was actually founded for the purpose of freeing the slaves. And that is the part of history that we need to teach. And not only that, but that the Democrat Party was the party of slavery, and after the Civil War, the party of racism, of Jim Crow, of the Klan, of terrorism against African Americans. Now, there's this myth that during the time of President Nixon, that the parties flipped, or perhaps during the times of Lyndon Johnson, the parties flipped. It's not true. When Lyndon Johnson signed into law, not he passed, the Republican legislature, the Congress and the Senate, passed the civil rights bills, Lyndon Johnson signed them and used disgusting words to describe his contempt for African Americans while he signed this into law. And the canard that somehow President Nixon, a Quaker from California, was some kind of racist, just shows ignorance on many levels. What really happened is the South stopped being racist. There's much more racism, particularly in the cities in the North and in all urban areas, than there is in rural areas in general. I drive an area. I'm much more afraid of being attacked if I'm walking in Manhattan or in Brooklyn, as I did this week a few times. Then, in the few minutes I have before I get to work, did you know that there's a Republican, one place in America where an African American makes more money than a Caucasian American? And that is because of Republican policies. And it's like President Trump said, what do you have to lose? So that's basically the whole answer that I have here. And the fact of the matter is, President Trump got a higher amount of the African American vote than any Republican in a long time. And President Trump at the debates in 2020 made the point that he did more to help African Americans than pretty much any president since Lincoln. And Biden just made fun of him. Oh yeah, Abraham Lincoln. But he didn't answer back. But not only that, but Joe Biden has a very long history of racism. And most of his, quote unquote, civil rights or whatever leaning things that he claims are really just tokenism, which is a form of racism. The fact that you have a woman who is half Indian, a quarter Irish, and a quarter Caribbean, and that Caribbean side were slave owners, being waved around as the first black vice president. It just shows that they still have that one drop rule that they've always had since Jim Crow. And meanwhile, when you have actual African Americans like Clarence Thomas, like many others, Alan Keyes, and so forth, who are maligned by the racist Democrats, it's just a message. It's time for the African American community to come home to the party of Lincoln, the party that freed them in the first place, but also is freeing them today. The history, not only the history, but the present tense of the Democratic Party is racism. It is abortion that disproportionately affects the black community. Basically, 3 Holocausts, almost 4 Holocausts against the black community. Lynching in the womb. It's taking guns away from law-abiding black citizens, making them sitting ducks, which only serves to increase black-on-black crime. So it's really a sad situation that we have, and there's no need for it. So thank you, Ariel, dear friend. So that's basically what I have to say. I'm almost at work. Any comments and questions or anything, everybody knows how to reach out to me. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please share this message. We love you all, and we'll see you later. I gotta go. I gotta make my phone calls before I go into work. I like to call my wife, let her know I made it to work. I don't know which way there's my friend. All right, we'll see you later. All right, God bless.